It started with the best Marine unit named John Triton, who was carrying out the task of freeing hostages in Iraq carried out by Al-Qaeda terrorists. At that point the colonel ordered John not to attack first, before reinforcements arrived. However, because the terrorists wanted to execute the hostages, John was forced to ignore his superior's orders and started attacking the terrorists blindly. Even though John was alone, he was able to finish off all the terrorists and managed to bring the hostages safely. The next day while at headquarters, John was summoned by the colonel who gave him a letter of honorable discharge from the Marine Corps. The reason John was dismissed was because of course yesterday John disobeyed his superior's orders, even though he managed to save the hostage. Even so, John was proud because he had worked as hard as possible for his country.
Order. For your loyal servant.
Confused about what to do, John finally returned home to California, where he was greeted by his wife, Kate. Here Kate looks very happy, because finally she can be in touch with her husband again.
I can't believe you're here.
3 days later a criminal named Roma arrived in front of the jewelry shop along with his subordinate named Komar. Roma's visit to the jewelry store was of course not to buy jewelry, but to rob diamonds worth $12 million. He then started making a fuss followed by his other subordinates, who turned out to be disguised as jewelry buyers. However, because the diamond was in bulletproof glass, Roma was forced to take a woman hostage so that the officers inside the glass would open it.
He can't help you.
When the glass was opened, it turned out that the woman was Roma's subordinate and lover, Angela. After taking the diamonds, Roma kills one of the officers who somehow knows Roma. Before leaving that place, Roma deliberately caused a commotion by shooting at the police car that had just arrived. Not only that, it turned out that Roma's subordinate, Morgan, also blew up the car, which made the situation around him very panicky. The scene shifts to John, who now works as a security guard. On his first day of work, John faced a rich kid, who was causing a riot at John's place of work.
Oh, really? It doesn't look like...
John also beat the man and his men.
Don't mess with me, pork chop.
However, because of this, John had to be fired on his first day of work.
You're fired!
That night, Angela, Roma's lover, was afraid because Roma had killed the shop owner and some of the police.
Dead cops? All those...
Roma calmed Angela down until they had intercourse. But unfortunately Roma was called by someone, so it had to be cancelled.
Have you lost your mind?
Elsewhere, John confided in his wife Kate that he had been fired from his job. Because of his Marine spirit, he always wants to beat up criminals. Kate finally took John camping to relieve his fatigue.
What if we just took off?
John immediately agreed with Kate's suggestion. On the way, John stopped at a gas station to buy diesel and food to stock up there. But it turned out that there were also Roma and his group who were also buying food. And suddenly the police came to the gas station who wanted to buy diesel. Quickly and without thinking long, Roma's men immediately shot the policeman dead. After that, a commotion broke out until they wanted to destroy the mini-market, with John still inside. They also took Kate hostage, because they were considered a living witness to their crimes there. After that, John was seen surviving without the slightest injury. John rushed after them in the police car that was there. Chases are inevitable. Attack after attack they launched at John. John was shot by them. When John crashed his car into Roma's car, suddenly John's car lost control and fell into the river. Kate, who thought John would not survive, then felt very sad. Because their car was damaged, Roma decided to walk across the edge of the swamp, so that it would be difficult for the police to find their whereabouts.
What's the matter with you?
Elsewhere, a detective named Van Buren appears at a gas station, to investigate a report previously submitted by John.
Here.
When Buren went to the location where John's car was, suddenly John, who was still alive, appeared and told Buren that his wife had been kidnapped by Roma, and plans to find their whereabouts. Unfortunately, Buren didn't give permission to John, because this case had been handed over to the police. But John didn't care what the detective said, and was determined to run away to save Kate.
Are we in the area?
Besides that, when Roma and his gang were crossing the swamp, Kate showed her skills by fighting back. However, the action was immediately stopped by Bennett and Angela. This commotion of course annoyed Morgan and angered Komar, who felt very tired. Morgan, who didn't accept it, pointed a gun at Komar. However, Roma shot Komar for no apparent reason.
What was that?
When they reached the mangrove forest, Roma got a call from the person who was waiting for the diamond. But Rome instead decided to keep the diamond for herself, feeling that the price offered was not worth what Rome was facing. Plus he is being hunted by the police in his country.
Came up with a name for it. I think I can now add kidnapping to my...
Meanwhile, the police begin to explore the swamp while monitoring it from the helicopter, to look for Roma and the gang. While John was walking alone in the swamp, and accidentally found Komar's knife on the edge of a tree. After running quite far, John finally found traces of the Roma gang, and according to John's experience in the marine world, he knew that Kate was still alive. But suddenly John was caught by the trap of two other mafia people. Because they thought John was a policeman who wanted to arrest them both. Behind that, another reason Rome took Kate hostage, because Rome was amazed by Kate's beauty and wanted to cheat on her own boyfriend. John, who was being held captive, easily broke free. Then John beat the two people. Behind that, Roma found a hut on the river bank, and they intended to hide there. John himself seems to have discovered the existence of the Roma group. John planned to kill one by one the Roma group who dared to take his wife hostage. But the electricity in the hut is out, and Roma orders his men to turn on the electricity generator in the hut.
Well, actually, I did.
When one of Roma's men was trying to turn on the electricity generator there, John suddenly approached him, then killed the Roma's men. Roma, who thought that the person he had sent earlier could not fix the generator, Roma ordered another subordinate to check the generator. But again his men had to die at the hands of John. After that John turned off the generator again. This made Roma and his girlfriend panic. Kate was seen running away from that place. Until Angela tried to stop Kate and there was a fight between Kate and Angela.
Playtime's over.
Behind that, a detective named Van, who has been handling Rome's crime cases, is at that place.
On the near left.
All right.
But who would have thought that Van Buren actually pointed his gun at John? And reveals that he actually wanted the diamond from Rome. Rome also agreed that he would give half of the diamonds to Van Buren, as long as Van Buren kills John. While haggling, John quickly used Van Buren's body as a shield as the Roma began shooting at them. Roma then flees with Angela and Kate. But before that Roma shot the gas canister. He made the hut explode. Luckily John managed to survive by jumping into the river. Roma then put Kate in the trunk of Buren's van and ran away. Meanwhile, John, who was walking along the river, accidentally met a swamp policeman, who told him to get out of the water. The guard then tried to arrest him. But John manages to fight back so he can take up his guns, as well as steal his ship to give chase. On the way Rome realized that they had to get out of Detective Van's car, because it was very easy for the police to identify. Therefore Angela deliberately stopped a truck, and used her charm to kill the driver. While John was still on the ship, he heard on the radio that a truck driver had been killed. Of course he knew who the perpetrator was.
5 miles north.
Long story short, night arrived. John arrives at the port and sees a truck that has been overturned by Kate's rebellious behavior. John then takes the opportunity to jump into the truck, and manages to throw Angela out, thus causing an accident with a bus from the opposite direction. Meanwhile Roma tries to shoot John, but Kate immediately drops her gun. Not only that, Roma also tried to knock John out of the truck by crashing into several huts. However, John managed to survive before being thrown when the truck crashed into a building. Because of the accident a big explosion occurred. Meanwhile, Kate, who was still in the truck, lost control and entered the river. John ran as best he could to catch the truck. But Roma attacked him and started beating him until he fell. The two of them then dueled until finally a building collapsed and hit John. Roma then takes this opportunity to end John's life and grabs a hammer. He also took a chainsaw to kill John, but fortunately John managed to fend off the attack. John, who once fought Toretto, finally managed to defeat Roma by kicking him into the flames. After that John immediately dived into the river, and swam to save Kate who was unconscious. John then brought him to the surface while trying to get him to breathe again. After a while, Kate finally regained consciousness and her life was saved. But again Roma appears with his scarred face, who attacks John with chains. But John counters the attack by throwing and snapping his neck with the chain. Now Rome is truly dead. While John and Kate get back together as the cops start arriving. And the movie is over. Thank you for watching. Look forward to the next video.